Hello and welcome to this edition of Full Circle, brought to you by South Central Louisiana Human Services Authority. I am your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker. Very glad that you're joining us, however you may be joining us. And it's this time of year that we always want to be able to talk a little bit about resolutions, New Year's resolutions. And today, very glad that we have Ms. Brett B. Guidry, also an LCSW, to tell us a little bit about what a New Year's resolution is and when that started.
Well, hi, Keith.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
A New Year's resolution is a firm decision to do or not do something, right?
Okay.
So it's a promise that we make ourselves to either start doing something well or
Right.
to stop doing something that we don't want to do any longer.
Right.
So historically, the ancient Babylonians over 4,000 years ago started with this New Year's pledge.
Okay.
And so
It was a
that's
pledge for them.
right, and
Okay.
then later became called New Year's resolutions. And so they were the first civilization to actually start celebrating New Year's. So that's kind of how the New Year's resolutions began.
I like it. And, so many people want to do these. So many people think about that. But there's actually some psychology behind New Year's resolutions.
Right. So when you think about the new year, right, that's kind of a sense of growth and opportunity and newness, kind of putting away the bad and starting with the new.
Right.
So that's kind of like the psychology behind it, starting off fresh.
Right.
Think about New Year's as a blank slate and things that we hope to accomplish in the new year. So that's kind of like the psychology
So
behind it.
tabula rasa, right? We're all a clean slate and we can all start off new. The other thing is that I love that you brought up the idea that we can actually, a New Year's resolution doesn't have to be adding something.
Right.
We can actually remove something. And so if in fact we've got some things in our lives that we don't want there, we can actually remove those and make those a little bit easier. So removing that is actually a possibility as well. You can start off on that clean slate as well.
Right, right. So, moving forward and trying to come up with a good resolution is important.
Okay.
And so, the main thing that we would like to do is make it meaningful to you,
Ooh.
right? So if it's not something that's going to be worth practicing or the hard work behind it, then we're not going to accomplish it.
Right. And the other thing is we don't want to set ourselves up to fail, right? And if we're convicted, if we say, you know what, this is something I really need to do, but more importantly, it's something I want to do.
Right.
We got to have that buy-in, right? And the psychology of it is we've got to be able to know for ourselves, and something about ourselves is this something that I can do? So many people set themselves up to fail. I've got to lose 25 pounds in January. Well, that's probably unrealistic.
Absolutely.
So those little goals are the way to get there. And I know we'll talk about
Right.
that a
And
little bit
then
later.
the smart goals, right? We do this with our clients when we complete their treatment plan. So
Right.
SMART is an acronym that stands for specific, measurable, realistic, attainable, and time bound. I said that wrong. Attainable, realistic, and time bound.
Gotcha. Yeah. I was smart enough to know that SMART lined up with those words, and everybody else was as well. So, yeah, so that's really good. So knowing that, though, I love the fact that it's measurable too.
Right.
That's the small increments, right? We measure things in large and small increments and making sure that that's it. And so, what if you don't want to change a behavior?
Right. So not everybody wants to change, right? Necessarily a behavior, but we encourage like this idea of concept, right? So using a specific word that may help guide you in your new year. So
like a buzzword, right? Or
So like
something that
some
keeps reminding
examples
us.
like compassion, hopeful, grateful, patient. Patient's a good one. So you kind of have that word in the forefront of your new year and how you engage in conversations and how you problem solve and deal with problems and stuff like that. You kind of have that word in the forefront, and that's kind of your New Year's goal or resolution.
I just figured mine out. It's going to be 4. It's very simple. It's a reminder, 4. And the reason I thought about this, so many of my dear friends, younger and older, at least one of their parents, of themselves and their partner, has passed away. My wife and I are so very fortunate that all 4 of our parents are still living.
Wow.
And every now and then, when I get a little frustrated, holidays, things coming up, get a little frustrated, I need to make sure that I remind myself, I think any of those people would be so glad to have an impatient moment with a mother or father that's not here anymore. So that's a reminder to me. So thank you. You helped me qualify my New Year's resolution. And maybe some tips for keeping the New Year's resolution, because identifying it's one thing.
Right.
Keeping it is something else.
Yeah.
Let's roll through those tips real
So
quick.
be
Brett.
picky about your resolutions.
Okay.
Plan your resolution out. Set very specific goals. Very
Okay.
specific. Don't take on too much. Choose a new resolution each year. Don't do the same one over and over again.
Right.
Identify accountability partners for support. So we know life's hard, and
Right.
so having that support is very important.
Right.
And give your resolution time to become a habit.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
they say we have to do things about 21 times, right?
For it to-
Before it to become a habit. And so it's
So give
important.
yourself some time.
I like it. I like it. And so are there 3 common reasons why some of these New Year's resolutions fail?
Yeah, so we're thinking too big. We
Right.
want to accomplish too much, and we're
Opposite
setting
of one of those hints?
Yeah,
Right.
so we're making ourselves, we're setting ourselves up for failure.
Right.
And we're not considering the why. Like, why is this important, right? And then my favorite one is we're simply not ready for change. Just because it's January 1 doesn't mean we want to change. So you have to have, that want and that passion and that dedication to get, to get your resolution accomplished.
And quite frankly, if we don't do those things, we can actually set ourselves up to become sad and depressed if we are maybe letting those resolutions kind of become toxic a little bit. Some great recommendations, Brad. I appreciate that. Thank you for the very concise, precise information that I think people are going to be able to really use all year long. And so very, very helpful. I really appreciate you coming on
thank
today
you,
and doing that.
Keith.
We're going to start the new year off right.
Yes,
All right.
sure.
Very
for
good.
sure.
And if people need help, we always want them to know where they can get help. And we appreciate it. And that'll do it for this particular edition of Full Circle. Don't go anywhere. A lot more local programming right here on HTV.